Attention passionate Detroit, Lions fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Detroit Lions' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Detroit Lions fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Detroit Lions fans. Let's get to the news. Now folks, if you've been paying attention to the NFL offseason, especially from the Lions' perspective, you probably already know that this team is at a crossroads. The offseason is a time of hope, of speculation, of roster moves that could define their entire upcoming season. And yet, as we get deeper into this offseason, something interesting is unfolding, something that could have major implications for Detroit's future. It's all about the pass rush, a key element that has been somewhat of a question mark for the Lions in recent years. You see, the Lions have been building a pretty solid roster overall. A lot of talent on offense, a defensive line that's promising, but one area that's been consistently underwhelming is their pass rush. And surprisingly, up until now, they haven't made a big move to address that weakness, despite some notable names still available on the market. When you look at the free agents still out there, Zadarius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, and others, it's clear that the Lions have options to upgrade their pass rush if they choose to. But as of now, they seem to be holding back, perhaps waiting for the right moment or a specific player to come along. That's a bit uncharacteristic for a team that's aiming to make a serious playoff run, especially with the window opening wider for Detroit. But this hesitance might be strategic, or maybe it's just a matter of waiting for the right trade opportunity. Still, the question remains. If their pass rush struggles early on in the season, will they hesitate to make a move? Or will they finally pull the trigger at the trade deadline, much like they did last season? Because, let's be honest, Detroit has had a history of making aggressive moves at that point of the season, trying to fill gaps that could cost them dearly if left unaddressed. And that's where things get really interesting. According to NFL analysts and experts like Brad Gagnon from Bleacher Report, there's speculation that the Lions could target a specific player who's been on their radar for a while. Gagnon predicts that Detroit might go after Kayvon Thibodeaux from the New York Giants around the trade deadline. Now, if you follow the NFL, you know Thibodeaux is a young, explosive edge rusher with tremendous upside. He's only 24 years old, and just last season he put up an impressive 5 sacks. That kind of production, combined with his raw talent, makes him a tantalizing option for any team looking to bolster their pass rush quickly. But why would the Giants consider trading Thibodeaux? Well, that's where the context of this situation becomes crucial. The Giants are expected to face a tough year in 2025. Their schedule is brutal, and their overall roster, while talented, isn't significantly better than it was last season. They're also dealing with some tough decisions regarding their veteran players, and with the team's prospects looking mixed, they might be inclined to trade some of those veterans for draft capital or younger players. Thibodeaux, with his contract running through 2026, remains a valuable asset that could fetch a solid return. And for the Lions, who are always looking to improve their pass rush, Thibodeaux could be a perfect fit, an immediate upgrade for this season and possibly beyond, even if it's just a short-term solution. Now, there's a lot to consider about Thibodeaux. You have to remember, he's only just beginning what could be a Hall of Fame-worthy career. He's shown flashes of dominance, and if he continues on this trajectory, Detroit could be getting a player who's just scratching the surface of his potential. The Lions' front office has invested heavily in their defensive line in recent years, bringing in players like Aiden Hutchinson, who was the second overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, and already establishing himself as a premier pass rusher. But even with Hutchinson's rise, the team has lacked that consistent, game-changing presence on the edge, someone who can consistently pressure the quarterback and turn the tide of games. So adding a player like Thibodeaux, even if only for a couple of seasons, could be a game-changer. It could finally give Detroit that extra edge they need to disrupt offenses and take the pressure off their secondary. And it's not just about 2024. Thibodeaux's age and potential make him an attractive target for the Lions' long-term plans, even if they don't see him as a permanent fixture. It's about making a smart move that elevates the entire defense, allowing the team to be more aggressive and unpredictable on third down. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The Giants aren't exactly eager to part with Thibodeaux right now. They're still testing the waters with him, seeing what kind of role he can carve out with their current roster. They're also hoping that, with some improvements, their defense can take a step forward this season. However, if things don't go as planned and the Giants struggle, the trade deadline could become a pivotal moment. That's when the Lions, with their scouting and analytical staff, could swoop in with an offer that the Giants find hard to resist. It's the kind of move that can transform a team's fortunes almost overnight, and Detroit, with its ambitions and roster depth, could be the perfect landing spot for a player like Thibodeaux. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture. The Lions have been building something special lately. After a few years of ups and downs, they're finally emerging as a serious contender. The addition of key players, the strategic drafting, and the coaching staff's emphasis on a balanced team have all contributed to this upward trajectory. But the defense, especially the pass rush, has been a lingering concern. They need that extra punch to really compete with the best of the best in the NFC, like the Eagles, 49ers, and Cowboys. And if they manage to land a player of Thibodeaux's caliber, it could be the missing piece that puts them over the top. The team's recent history shows that Detroit isn't afraid to make bold moves when they see an opportunity. Remember, they traded away their first-round pick in 2023 to move up and draft Hutchinson. That turned out to be a smart move, as Hutchinson has already become a cornerstone of their defense. So, if the Lions see Thibodeaux as a similar kind of impact player, don't be surprised if they go all in at the trade deadline to acquire him. That's the kind of aggressive, forward-thinking approach that has become characteristic of GM Brad Holmes and head coach Dan Campbell. They're all about building a team that can not only contend but stay at the top for years to come. And speaking of this season, expectations are sky-high in Detroit. The fan base is hungry for playoff success, and the roster assembled is primed to make a deep run. The offense, led by quarterback Jared Goff, has been firing on all cylinders, with weapons like Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the emerging Jameson Williams giving defenses headaches. But it's the defense, particularly the pass rush, that could determine just how far this team goes. If they can add that elite edge rusher, whether through a trade or a strategic offseason signing, it could elevate the Lions to a whole new level. And let's not forget the importance of the NFC North itself. This division has become more competitive than it's been in years. The Minnesota Vikings are always dangerous, the Green Bay Packers are rebuilding and looking to surprise everyone, and the Chicago Bears are on the rise with their young quarterback and a roster full of draft picks. In such a scenario, every little upgrade counts. A dominant pass rush can be the difference between winning the division or just missing out on the playoffs altogether. That's why Detroit's potential move for Thibodeaux isn't just about bolstering their defense. It's about asserting their dominance in the NFC North and setting the tone for the rest of the league. Now, I want to give you some more context about the Lions' recent defensive history. Over the past few seasons, Detroit's defense has been a work in progress. Last year, they finished with a solid record of 9-8, narrowly missing the playoffs, but fans could see the potential in their young core. Hutchinson, in particular, has been a revelation, showing flashes of dominance that remind many of some of the great pass rushers in recent history. But they lacked that consistent, game-changing presence on the edge, which is exactly why a player like Kayvon Thibodeaux could fit perfectly into their plans. The Lions have also invested heavily in their secondary, bringing in solid pieces to improve coverage, but the missing link has always been that edge presence that can turn the tide of a game with a sack or a strip sack. Looking ahead, the 2024 season is shaping up to be a crucial year for Detroit. They're aiming not just for a playoff appearance, but for a legitimate deep run, possibly even a Super Bowl appearance. The NFC is loaded, but the Lions have the talent, the coaching, and the momentum. All they need now is that extra push, that one piece that can elevate them from a good team to a great one. And if the trade deadline comes around and Thibodeaux is still available, the Lions will have to seriously consider pulling the trigger. That's the kind of move that can define a franchise's trajectory for years to come. And so, as we sit here, analyzing all these possibilities, it's clear that Detroit is at a pivotal moment. The team's front office has shown patience and strategic acumen, but they're also ready to pounce when the opportunity presents itself. The potential acquisition of a player like Thibodeaux isn't just about filling a roster spot. It's about making a statement that the Lions are serious contenders, that they're willing to do whatever it takes to bring a Super Bowl back to Detroit. Fans should be excited, because this offseason could be remembered as the moment Detroit took a giant leap forward. And now, Detroit Lions fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Do you believe the team should go all in for Thibodeaux if the opportunity arises? Or do you think they should focus on other areas of the roster first? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Detroit Lions. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Detroit Lions news. This is a team on the rise, and with the right moves, they could be right back in the hunt for the Lombardi Trophy. Thanks for sticking with me, and as always, go Lions!